study tonight. We are picking up where we left off yesterday, and for those that's reading alone, that's going to be the 80th chapter of the book of Jasher, verse 36. We stopped off on 35 yesterday. Today we're going to be rolling on from 36. And we've been getting a breakdown of the plagues and how they were administered and the amount of time that went from the first time that Moses came before Pharaoh, the second time, and then, of course, the third time. The second time when he came before Pharaoh is, of course, where they had their little duel with the rods, and Balaam and his two sons were there next to Pharaoh. Those were the magicians or the conjurers that were with Pharaoh. And even though the bet that they basically made, Moses was able to fulfill, they still didn't keep their word and do what they said they were going to do. So at that point, 2 years passed. And after those 2 years, then Moses came back and asked them to have his people let free. How you doing, kindness? And after that, that is when we got to the point to where the plague started to be unleashed on them. And we saw the severity of the plagues, the depth of the plagues, a whole lot more information as far as breaking it down as how it was being administered out and how severe it truly was given out to us. And we are still there. We are still reading the plagues because after he came back the third time, that's when the Most High just started unleashing, straight up. He just started unleashing on them to the point that, well, we'll see what point that is going to reach to. So like I said, for those that's reading along with us, we are on the 80th chapter of the book of Jasher, verse 36. And it's only 91 chapters in Jasher. So it's not going to be too long before we finish the book of Jasher. And then we will pray and we will see where we go on from there. But I don't know about you guys. I'm fired up, man. All of the book of Jasher is so juicy. I'm not going to lie, man. There's so much information in there, so much detail in there. And it breaks it down in a way that you can really get a visual of the situation. It is great. All right, so we're reading on from the 36th verse, and it reads, "And Elohim sent darkness upon Egypt, that the whole land of Egypt and Pathrock were dark for 3 days, so that a man could not see his hand when he lifted it to his mouth." Talking about pitch black darkness, not an eclipse that came and then left, but darkness for 3 solid days. No sun rising whatsoever, no lights in the sky, none of that, okay? 37, "And at that time died many of the people of Israel who had rebelled against Yahuwah and would not hearken to Moses and Aaron and believed not in them that Elohim had sent them." So when it got to the point of the locusts coming, right? Remember the people we read yesterday, how the people in Egypt, they rejoiced when the locusts came because they finally had something to eat and they was catching the locusts and salting them so that they could eat them. And then the Most High sent a wind and blew all of the locusts away into the Red Sea. So they couldn't even enjoy that. Well, what came next? And up to this point in time, there had only been plagues that had affected Egypt. As they were affecting Egypt, it wouldn't touch Goshen, where the children of Israel were. But something changed when the darkness came upon the land for the 3 days. Even the people of Israel, those who would not listen to Moses, those who did not believe that the Most High had sent them, they died. 38, "And who had said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness, and who would not hearken to the voice of Moses." So the people who died from Israel, hey man, Dixie, you know what? I'm sorry I had cut you off so quick yesterday. I haven't had a chance to go back and read what you had said. You were saying something about the halftime show. And lo and behold, today, my feed was just filled up with what Kendrick was actually telling them and was saying to them. That was a blessing that you sent to me, and I appreciate it, man. So I just wanted to let you know that. All right, can you freestyle about the struggles you faced growing up with two dads? That's very strange, Johnson Miller. You're going to have to do better than that, though, man. All right, now, okay, 37. So let's reread 37, and we're going to read 38 because we want to get a full understanding that when this plague hit Israel as well. It didn't only hit the Egyptians. And it says, "At that time, many of the people of Israel who had rebelled against Yahuwah and who would not hearken to Moses and Aaron and believed not in them that Elohim had sent them, and who had said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness, and who would not hearken to the voice of Moses. So not only those who would not listen or believe that Moses was who he said he was and that he was sent by the Most High, it was also those who refused to leave Egypt. Those that said, nah, man, everything that we have is here. Where are we going to go? We're not going out there and die in the wilderness, which would make logical sense to them. But at the same time, it was not the plan of the Most High. And when the Most High moves, what have we been saying? Don't move till the Most High moves. But when he moves, move. Right? Okay, 39. And Yahuwah plagued them in the 3 days of darkness. And Israel buried them in those days, without the Egyptians knowing of them or rejoicing over them. Meaning that when this happened, the children of Israel was burying the non-believers, basically, that was amongst them. And the children of Egypt were not able to witness this nor rejoice over this. Kirk, you are 100% correct. That is our foundation here, okay? 40. And the darkness was very great in Egypt for 3 days. And any person who was standing when the darkness came remained standing in his place. And he that was sitting remained sitting. And he that was lying continued lying in the same state. When it says lying, they're talking about laying down. And he that was walking remained sitting upon the ground in the same spot. And this thing happened to all of Egypt until the darkness had passed away. Meaning that it was so dark, the darkness came on them so quick that when it happened, people basically just kind of froze and stopped and stayed where they were at. After all, it was so pitch black that if they did walk or whatnot, they could easily stumble, fall, bust their head on the ground, run into something, get impaled. All kind of things could happen to them. Right? Fall into the river, trip and fall, break an ankle, break a leg, whatever it was. Terrible things could happen just from darkness coming, okay? Passed away. All right, 41. And the days of darkness passed away, and Yahuwah sent Moses and Aaron to the children of Israel, saying, celebrate your feast and make your Passover. For behold, I come in the midst of the night amongst all the Egyptians, and I will smite all their firstborn, from the firstborn of a man to the firstborn of a beast. And when I see your Passover, I will pass over you. So after all the plagues ran, because it was traditionally, I always read that Moses was going back and forth to the Pharaoh, back and forth to the Pharaoh each time a plague would come. But the way it's laid out in Jasher, it was like, nah, Moses went to Pharaoh the first time and he sent him away and said, give me a day. He came back the second day and they challenged Moses, and they looked through their historical books to find out who was the God of Moses, right? And they didn't have his name written down. So they told him, nah, man, I'm not letting your people go. I don't know who your God is. Right? And then the third time that he came back after the 2-year period, that's when he told him the second time to let his people go, and they wouldn't. And all of the plagues, except for the last one, ran concurrently, one after another, concurrently, tearing apart Egypt, till Moses was sent after the 3 days of darkness to the children of Israel first to let them know about the Passover. 42. And the children of Israel did according to all that Yahuwah had commanded Moses and Aaron. Thus they did in that night. And it came to pass in the middle of the night that Yahuwah went forth in the midst of Egypt and smote all the firstborn of the Egyptians, from the firstborn of man to the firstborn of beast. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all of his servants and all the Egyptians. And there was a great cry throughout Egypt in that night, for there was not a house in which there was not a corpse. Now, see, when we hear the firstborn, that meant the firstborn, period, male or female. So you may have been the secondborn in your family as the man, but you may have married a woman who was the firstborn. She's dead. Your first child, dead. Out of your animals, the first, dead. So there's death all around them, all the way throughout Egypt. And it didn't stop there. Also, the likeness of the firstborn of Egypt, which were carved in the walls at their houses, were destroyed and fell to the ground. even the bones of their firstborn who had died before this, and whom they had buried in their houses, were raked up by the dogs of Egypt on that night and dragged before the Egyptians and cast before them. That means that even if you had a brother or a sister that had passed away and they were the firstborn, they had died 10 years ago, dogs went and dug their bones up and brought them to your house to let you know he's not playing with you. 47. And all the Egyptians saw this evil which had suddenly come upon them. And all the Egyptians cried out with a loud voice. And all the families of Egypt wept upon that night, each man for his son and each man for his daughter, being the firstborn. And the tumult of Egypt was heard at a distance on that night. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went forth with the king on that night to seek Moses and Aaron in their houses. And they found them in their houses, eating and drinking and rejoicing with all of Israel. So while all of Egypt is going through this terrible, terrible situation, all within one night, Moses's stepmother, we can call her Bathia, and Pharaoh come to Moses, and they in there partying. I mean, they partying. It said they rejoicing, right? 50. And Bathia said to Moses, is this the reward for the good which I have done to you, who have reared you and stretched you out, and who have brought this, and you have brought this evil upon me and my father's house? Now listen. And Moses said to her, surely 10 plagues did Yahuwah bring upon Egypt. Did any evil accrue to you from any of them? Did one of them affect you? And she said, no. She and her father was she was unaffected. Her father was unaffected from the last one. We're going to find out why too. But she was unaffected from all of the plagues. So the Most High had mercy on her for what she had done for Moses. But for everybody else, they received the punishment. And Moses said unto her, although you are the firstborn to your mother, so she was the firstborn, you shall not die, and no evil shall reach you in the midst of Egypt. And she said, what advantage is it to me when I see the king, my brother, and all his household and subjects in this evil, whose firstborn perish with all the firstborn of Egypt? And Moses said to her, surely your brother and his household and subjects, the families of Egypt, would not hearken to the words of the Most High. Therefore did this evil come upon them. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, approached Moses and Aaron and some of the children of Israel who were with them in that place, and he prayed to them, saying, rise up and take your brethren, all the children of Israel who are in the land, with their sheep and ox, and all belonging to them. They shall leave nothing remaining. Only pray for me to Yahuwah Elohim, which is Yahuwah your Elohim. And Moses said to Pharaoh, behold, you are your mother's firstborn. Remember when I said that last plague didn't touch Pharaoh? Not only was Bathia, the stepmother of Moses, a firstborn, so was Pharaoh. The Most High wanted to make sure he got the message. For Yahuwah has commanded that you shall live, in order to show you his great might and strong stretched out arm. And Pharaoh ordered the children of Israel to be sent away. And all the Egyptians strengthened themselves to send them. For they said, we are all perishing. And all the Egyptians sent Israel forth with great riches, sheep and oxen and precious things, according to the oath Yahuwah between him and our father Abraham. And the children of Israel delayed going forth at night. And when the Egyptians came to them to bring them out, they said to them, are we thieves that we should go forth at night? And the children of Israel asked of the Egyptians vessels of silver, vessels of gold, and garments. And the children of Israel stripped the Egyptians. And Moses hastened and rose up and went to the river of Egypt and brought up from thence the coffin of Joseph and took it with him. The children of Israel also brought up each man his father's coffin with him, and each man the coffins of his tribe. So when they left, they literally left nothing. Everything went, even the bones of those that had passed. Chapter 81 of the book of Jasher, verse 1. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides the little ones and their women. So if we want to know how many came out of Egypt, because we know it was 70 souls that came in, right? 70 souls minus Joseph, because Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh was already there, right? How many came out was 600,000 men on foot, not including children and women. And a mixed multitude went up with them, and flocks and herds, even much cattle. And the sojourning of the children of Israel, who dwelt in the land of Egypt in hard labor, was 210 years. So they were there for 210 years. And at the end of the 210 years, that breaks the 400-year idea right there, that it already happened. Is letting us know they was there for 210 years. But I digress. If you want to read it yourself, it's the 81st chapter in the book of Jasher, verse 3. Verse 4. At the end of the 210 years, Yahuwah brought forth the children of Israel from Egypt with a strong hand. And the children of Israel traveled from Egypt and from Goshen and from Ramses and encamped in Succoth on the 15th day of the first month. It even lets you know when. And the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, whom Yahuwah had smitten, and all the Egyptians buried their slain for 3 days. And the children of Israel traveled from Succoth and encamped in Etham at the end of the wilderness. Etham is spelled Etham, at the end of the wilderness. And on the third day, after the Egyptians had buried their firstborn, many men rose up from Egypt and went after Israel to make them return to Egypt. For they repented that they had sent Israel away from their servitude. The reason why they came after us at the end was because they wanted us to return and continue to work, because we were building everything for them.
Daddy,
Yes,
why can't they just do it themselves?
that's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. Why couldn't they just do it themselves? Tells you the heart of them, huh? I mean, after all, people have the opportunity to do what's right all the time. That don't mean that they do, right? So you just make sure that you do what you're supposed to do, all right? Don't be like the Egyptians. Verse 9, and one man said to his neighbor, surely Moses and Aaron spoke to Pharaoh, saying, we will go a 3 days journey in the wilderness and sacrifice to Yahuwah Eloheinu. Now therefore let us rise up early in the morning and cause them to return. And it shall be that if they return to us to Egypt, to their Adonai, then we shall know that there was faith in them, that there is faith in them. But if they will not return, then will we fight with them and make them come back with great power and a strong hand. This is what the Egyptians are saying. And all the nobles of Pharaoh rose up in the morning, and with them about 700,000 men. And they went forth from Egypt on that day, and came to the place where the children of Israel were. And all the Egyptians saw, and behold, Moses and Aaron and all the children of Israel were sitting before. All right, now I'm just going to spell this one for you, all right? This is very difficult to pronounce. It's something like Pi Ha Chivaroth. And it's Piy space HA hyphen CHIY Roth, eating and drinking and celebrating the feast of Yahuwah. And all the Egyptians sent to the children of Israel, surely you said, or excuse me, all the Egyptians said to the children of Israel, surely you said, we will go a journey for 3 days in the wilderness and will sacrifice to our Elohim and return. Now therefore, this day makes 5 days since you went. Why do you not return to your Adonai? And Moses and Aaron answered them, saying, because Yahuwah Eloheinu has testified in us, saying, you shall no more return to Egypt, but we will betake ourselves to a land flowing with milk and honey, as Yahuwah Eloheinu has sworn to our ancestors to give to us. And when the nobles of Egypt saw that the children of Israel did not hearken to them to return to Egypt, they girded themselves to fight with Israel. And Yahuwah strengthened the hearts of the children of Israel over the Egyptians, that they gave them a severe beating. And the battle was sore upon the Egyptians. And all the Egyptians fled from before the children of Israel, for many of them had perished by the hand of Israel. So before they chased them to the Red Sea, there was a battle that happened, because the Egyptians changed their mind and said, you know what? They originally said that they was going to go for 3 days and that they was going to sacrifice to the Most High. I tell you what, go and check and see what they doing. And if they there, then bring them back. And if they refuse to come, we're going to make them come back like we used to make them work. But see, the season was different. They was looking at them like they was looking at the children of Israel like these are the same dudes we were forcing to work for free. We'll make them do what we want them to do. But when the seasons change, when the Most High makes his decision and says enough, people always think that they conquer over other people. They don't realize that it's the Most High who raises kingdoms up and tears them down. So it's him who makes the decision and choice in who's going to win, who's going to lose. What happened to the children of Ephraim when they left early, when they thought that they had read the timing from Abraham and they thought that they knew it was time to go and they left? You remember that? And they ran up on Gath and them dudes whooped them and destroyed all of them but 10. And they had to run back to Egypt and go back into servitude. Because even though they were a part of the children of Israel, it was not that time yet. That's why we always say, don't move till the Most High moves. But when he say move, oh baby, move. All right, verse 18. And the nobles of Pharaoh went to Egypt and told the Pharaoh, saying, the children of Israel have fled and will no more return to Egypt. And in this manner did Moses and Aaron speak to us. And Pharaoh heard this thing, and his heart and the hearts of all the subjects were turned against Israel. And they repented that they had sent Israel. And all the Egyptians advised Pharaoh to pursue the children of Israel, to make them come back to their burdens. And they said, each man to his brother, what is this we have done, that we have sent Israel from our servitude? And Yahuwah strengthened the hearts of all the Egyptians to pursue Israel. For Yahuwah desired to overthrow the Egyptians in the Red Sea. The Most High had a plan set up already that we didn't even know about. He was already planning on using the Red Sea to wipe them out. That was his plan, right? And Pharaoh rose up and harnessed his chariot. Let's also just look at something. The only reason that they wanted to bring us back was for servitude. You notice that? They didn't care about who we were. And remember how we talked about when we came in to Joseph, how it was fanfare and everybody was out there celebrating, and it's like they had a gigantic party. There was a declaration throughout the country of Egypt that everybody needs to come out and welcome these people. The first Pharaoh that was with Joseph loved Joseph. He had put him even over his son so that when he died, Joseph was still basically reigning and in control of everything. There was never really any fallout. The children of Israel was going to war on behalf of Egypt in all these different places and locations. Joseph was securing riches and bringing it back and setting up treasuries for Egypt. He was doing all of these things, but at the end of the day, they still, for no apparent reason outside of it being the plans of the Most High, did these things to us. Okay? All right. Verse 22. And Pharaoh rose up and harnessed his chariot, and he ordered all the Egyptians to assemble. Not one man was left excepting the little ones and the women. And all the Egyptians went forth with Pharaoh to pursue the children of Israel. And the camp of Egypt was an exceedingly large and heavy camp, about 1,000,000 men. That's how it's written, 1,000,000 men. Verse 24. And the whole of this camp went and pursued the children of Israel to bring them back to Egypt. And they reached them encamped by the Red Sea. And the children of Israel lifted up their eyes and beheld all the Egyptians pursuing them. And the children of Israel were greatly terrified at them. And the children of Israel cried to Yahuwah. You notice what they did? When they were in fear, when things went wrong, when they were being hunted down, they cried to the Most High. They didn't turn on one another and start attacking one another, right? They cried to the Most High. That's what I personally believe as a people that we must begin to do. Each and every one of us got to accept the fact of who we are. And we have to begin to cry out. We see that when we were in Egypt, what got the Most High to make a move? It was the cry of the people, right? Each time when we read, when he hearkened to us, when he listened to us, when he decided, okay, it's time. It was every time it was because we were crying out to him. Right now, a lot of us is just too comfortable where we at. And as long as we in comfort, we're going to be like those Hebrews that refused to leave. And when things went dark for that darkness plague, they got wiped out too. So let's not be comfortable where we at, but let's embrace what the Most High has for us and be prepared to make a move when it's that time. Not before, but when it's that time. And the children of Israel lifted up their eyes. Okay, 26. And on account of the Egyptians, the children of Israel divided themselves into 4 divisions, and they were divided in their opinions, for they were afraid of the Egyptians, and Moses spoke to each of them. The first division was of the children of Reuben, Simeon, and Issachar, and they resolved to cast themselves into the sea, for they were exceedingly afraid of the Egyptians. So we had one group, right? They were like, bro, we just jumping in the water. Forget it, man. We'll just try to swim. We'll try to make it out of here. And Moses said to them, fear not, stand still. Fear not and stand still. And see the Yeshua salvation, which is salvation. That's the meaning. Stand still and see the salvation of Yahuwah, which we will effect this day for you. The second division was of the children of Zebulun, Benjamin, and Naphtali, and they resolved to go back to Egypt with the Egyptians. They were like, man, we'll just go back and work. Forget it, man. Forget them just killing us. We'll just go back and work. Excuse me. 30. And Moses said to them, fear not, for as you have seen the Egyptians this day, so shall you see them no more forever. The third division was of the children of Judah and Joseph, and they resolved to go meet the Egyptians and to fight with them. The third division was like, well, if we're going out with a battle. We might as well crack this thing off because it's already here on our doorstep. 32. And Moses said to them, stand in your places, for Yahuwah will fight for you, and you shall remain silent. And the fourth division was of the children of Levi, Gad, and Asher, and they resolved to go into the midst of the Egyptians to confound them. And Moses said to them, remain in your stations and fear not, only call unto Yahuwah that he may save you out of their hands. So they was like, man, the fourth division, it sounds like, was like, man, we'll just go ahead and go and join them. And then when y'all crack it off, Judah, we'll be right there in the middle of them. We can get it in too. 34. After Moses rose up from amidst the people, he prayed to the Yahuwah and he said, now it's important for us to understand the number one weapon that we have at our disposal and use is prayer. That is literally the single most powerful thing that we have at our disposal. For when Christ died and rose on the third day, tearing the veil, destroying the partition between us, approaching the throne room of God, and talking to him, he allowed us to approach and make any request known. And when we have accepted Christ, right? And the Holy Spirit dwells within us, whenever we talk to the Most High, Christ is right there saying, Father, do it for him. And he's like, oh, for you? Yeah, I'll do anything. Whatever you want, do it. It's just faith. Look at how the children of Israel were partying before, right? They had made it out. They were partying. They were rejoicing. It was all good. They have a battle. They handle business. They sitting by the Red Sea. They see the Egyptians coming. They start falling apart to the left and the right. Faith. Their eyes told them that logically, we don't have any way out of here. But faith has nothing to do with logic. It supersedes logic. Verse 35, this is the prayer that Moses prayed. O Yahuwah Elohim, of the whole earth, save now your people whom you did bring forth from Egypt, and let not the Egyptians boast that their power and might are theirs. So Yahuwah said to Moses, why do you cry unto me? Speak to the children of Israel that they shall proceed, and do stretch out your rod upon the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall pass through it. And Moses did so, and he lifted up his rod upon the sea and divided it. Now we know what rod this is. This is the same rod that was used within the creation of the world. See, that was broken down to us when the history of the rod was given to us when Moses was captured at Ruel's dungeon after he left out of Cush from being king there. He didn't go back to Egypt. Instead, he went a little bit further, and where he was, he met the daughters of Ruel, and they ended up feeding him. They went and told their father. They bring him back. Ruel thinks it's an opportunity for him to gain favor with the Cushites, so he throws him in the dungeon. And lo and behold, 10 years later, when Moses gets out the dungeon, here's a stick sitting in this garden, and we're given the whole entire history of it. Go back 2 days, and you'll see that video where it has the breakdown of that. All right. And the waters of the sea were divided into 12 parts. I bet you didn't know that. And the children of Israel passed through on foot with shoes, as a man would pass through on a prepared road. And Yahuwah manifested to the children of Israel his wonders in Egypt and in the sea by the hand of Moses and Aaron. So through Aaron and Moses is how he manifested his wonders that he showed to the children of Israel that came from Egypt, okay? And when the children of Israel had entered the sea, the Egyptians came after them because it was 12 openings. It wasn't just one giant one like they show in the movies. It was 12 openings. So all the people could flee simultaneously. And the Egyptians came after them. And the waters of the sea resumed upon them, and they all sank in the water. And not one man was left excepting Pharaoh, who gave thanks to Yahuwah and believed in him. Therefore, Yahuwah did not cause him to perish at that time with the Egyptians. And Yahuwah ordered an angel to take him from amongst the Egyptians, who cast him upon the land of Nineveh, and he reigned over it for a long time. So what it's saying is that Pharaoh was the only one that was left from that entire group of 700,000 soldiers. It was just Pharaoh by himself. And while he was left on the opposite side of the Red Sea from the children of Israel, an angel came and took him and placed him in Nineveh. And when he got to Nineveh, he reigned there. I bet you didn't know that.
I thought Pharaoh died in
You thought Pharaoh drowned in that's what they tell us. But this is what actually happened. It's just like they usually tell us that you suck the stick in the water and the thing opened up and everybody went through in the same place. No, 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 no. He put the rod over the water. We know where this rod came from and how important it is, and it split 12 different openings through, and they walked through on completely dry land. That's how that amount of people were able to cross over in such a short amount of time. 42. And on that day, Yahuwah saved Israel from the hand of Egypt. And all the children of Israel saw that the Egyptians had perished, and they beheld the great hand of Yahuwah in what he had performed in Egypt and in the sea. Now, this is another thing that always tripped me out. Because right after he does this amazing thing, right after that, they turn around and make the golden calves and be worshiping Baal. And I was just like, what is wrong? Why? Well, how do you witness? Well, nobody told you that the sea was split. You witnessed it yourself, but you still go south. You could witness a miracle. You could witness the work of the Most High and still not be his. Devin, I'm not a teacher. I just read. So if you're looking for more depth in the verses that you're having difficulty with, then my best suggestion for you is to take it into prayer, because it allows you to communicate with the Most High. As long as you have accepted Christ, then you have the Holy Spirit living inside of you. Therefore, when you speak to the Lord, he hears you. Now you just have to sit silently and wait for his answer. If you feel like you can't hear him, engage in fasting. Fasting is one of the quickest way to be able to get yourself on his frequency to be able to hear him, because he's always talking to us. It's just we are so filled up with everything that we have going on in our lives that we rarely hear him. Okay? 43. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yahuwah on the day when Yahuwah caused the Egyptians to fall before them. And all Israel sang in concert, saying, I will sing to Yahuwah, for he is greatly exalted. The horse and his rider he has cast into the sea. Behold, it is written in the cipher of the Torah of Elohim. After this, the children of Israel proceeded on their journey and encamped in Moriah. I'm saying Moriah. It's spelled Marah. And Yahuwah gave to the children of Israel commandments and judgments in that place Moriah. Before this point, they had never received the commandments, right? He gave them commandments and he gave them judgments. And Yahuwah commanded the children of Israel to walk in all his ways and to serve him. And they journeyed from Moriah and came to Elim, or Elim. Yeah, Elim. Eylim. And in Elim were 12 springs of water and 70 date trees. And the children encamped there by the waters. I love dates. Delicious. 47. And they journeyed from Elim and came to the wilderness of Sin, or Ciyn, on the 15th day of the second month after their departure from Egypt. So they hit this city of Sin, right? Or they came to the wilderness of Sin, 1 month after leaving. Because remember, they left out on the 15th day of the first month of the year? And they arrived in the wilderness of Sin on the 15th day of the second month of the year. So we have a time scale of how much time it took them to go from where they were at to there. Because remember, it's 600,000 men plus children and women that's moving. When you're moving with a large group like that, that takes time. Okay? 48. At that time, Yahuwah gave all the manna to the children of Israel to eat. And Yahuwah caused the food to rain from heaven for the children of Israel day by day. And the children of Israel ate the manna for 40 years, all the days that they were in the wilderness, until they came to the land of Canaan to possess it. And they possessed from the wilderness of Sin and they proceeded from the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Alush, Alush. And they proceeded from Alush and encamped in Rephidim, Rephidim. Verse 52. And the children of Israel were in Rahadim, Amalek, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, the brother of Zepho, came to fight with Israel. Okay. And he brought with him 801,000 men. That's an odd way to write a number. Magicians and conjurers, and he prepared for battle with Israel in Rahadim. And they carried on a great and severe battle against Israel. And Yahuwah delivered Amalek and his people into the hands of Moses and the children of Israel, and into the hand of Yahusha, the son, which is how we say Joshua, the son of Nun. The Ephraimite. So he was from Ephraim, from the tribe of Ephraim.
The Ephraimite?
Yes, excellent pronunciation. The servant of Moses. And the children of Israel smote Amalek and his people at the edge of the sword, but the battle was very sore upon the children of Israel. And Yahuwah said to Moses, write this thing as a memorial for you in a cipher, and place it in the hand of Joshua, the son of Nun, your servant. And you shall command the children of Israel, saying, when you shall come to the land of Canaan, you shall utterly efface the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses did so. And he took the cipher and wrote it these words, saying, remember what Amalek has done to you in the road when you went forth from Egypt, who met you in the road and smote your rear, even those that were feeble behind you when you were faint and weary. Man, it's like my breath is leaving me. Therefore it shall be when Yahuwah Eloheka, which is it's freezing up. I knew something weird was going on. Because while I was sitting here talking, I started feeling like I was dizzy for a minute. I was like, oh, somebody's trying to attack us. I figured that it paused for a second, so I'll reread the 60th verse for you, all right? Therefore, it shall be when Yahuwah Eloheka shall have given you rest from all your enemies round about you in the land, which Yahuwah Eloheka gives you for an inheritance, to possess it, that you shall blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget it. And the king who shall have pity on Amalek, or upon his memory, or upon his seed, behold, I will require it of him, and I will cut him off from amongst his people. And Moses wrote all these things in a cipher, and he enjoined the children of Israel respecting all these matters. And that's the end of chapter 81, guys. Because we're at a sweet spot right now, usually we will go on for about another 15, 20 minutes. But we're going to go ahead and cut it right here. We'll be reading chapter 82 tomorrow. That's where we will pick up from. We will be at verse 1 of this 82nd chapter. And I want to thank everybody that came and that listened tonight. I definitely want to thank all of you guys for having input and checking us out. But I want to remind you of something. No matter what we do, we will always be in an operation of repentance. For repentance is not just saying sorry, but it's us recognizing the sins that we live with and constantly turning and going the opposite direction from them. Though we will never be perfect, it is expected of us to be able to understand what we are doing wrong, to seek help on it, but also to turn from it, okay? Excuse me. For anybody that this is their first time and they're wondering something about us, our foundation here, when we read, is a clear understanding our foundation is Christ. There's only one way to heaven. Only the blood of Jesus can wash away your sins. Works cannot get you there. We do works because he saved us. We don't do works to be saved. Okay? There should be no question about that whatsoever. If you're wondering what we believe, Jesus, that's what we believe. If you call him Yeshua, perfectly fine. If you call him Yahweh, no problem with that at all. But let us all understand, we don't need to fight over a name, because when he returns, he said he's coming with a name written across his thigh that no man knows. All right? Do we believe that we're the people? Without a shadow of a doubt. Does that then mean that we are above everyone else? No. It means that we have a duty, in fact, to show the world what it is to love like Christ told us to love, to treat each other with respect and honor, and to uplift one another, and to choose the things of God over the things of man. It doesn't matter what society chooses, or politics chooses, or people choose. None of that matters. We stand firm with what the Most High says, regardless of what the repercussions is going to be. That's our job and our duty. We always like to leave everybody with this. It's extremely important for you personally to have a strong relationship with the Most High. The reason is because everybody knows who Jesus is, but the only thing that counts is, does he know you? And if you can't say yes for sure he knows me, then I suggest that you take a look at 3 areas of your life. The first one is reading your Bible. Do you read your Bible? If not, then how do you know what he is saying? How do you know what his rules and regulations are? How do you know what he has appointed, what he expects from us? How do you know what's the truth and what's false? How do you know, instead of going and listen to somebody sit up here at the beginning, or at the, what do you call it, on the stage or whatnot, that talk to you and tell them that everything that they read, why don't you go and read it yourself so that you can have a fundamental sound foundation in the word? It's extremely important for you to read the word. Then nobody can fool you or confuse you or lie to you. You may have situations like Devin where there's some things that you don't really understand. Well, that's where the second part comes in. It's prayer. Prayer allows us to communicate with the Most High and tell him what's on our mind. Reading the word, he tells us how he feels. When we go into prayer, we tell him how we feel, what we're going through, what we're struggling with, what we need help with, how we perceive things, our shortcomings, what we feel that we do good in. We can ask him questions. We can ask for more information. We can ask him for wisdom. For whoever seeks wisdom, go to him. He gives it freely, okay? So we understand that we need to pray. And when we're talking about prayer, we're not just talking about praying for 2 minutes right before you eat, or praying for 2 minutes before you go to bed. Because if you try to talk to somebody and have a relationship with them, and they only call you for 2 minutes before they eat and 2 minutes before they go to bed, you're not going to think they're interested in you. You're not even really know anything about them. You know what they like to eat. But other than that, you're not really going to know anything about them. So don't treat the Most High like that. All right? Engage in prayer with them more than those times that a lot of us fall into. And people say, well, when can I pray? I'm always busy. You can pray while you're driving to work. You can pray while you're eating. You can pray while you're sitting at your desk at work. You can pray while you're dealing with that difficult customer. You can pray while you're dealing with that coworker that won't leave you alone. You can pray while you're in the bathroom. You can pray while you're on your phone. You can pray while you're in the bed and you're chilling. There's lots of time to pray. Just open up communication with him and talk to him. Treat him like your best friend. If you would tell your best friend anything, you would stop what you were doing to go get on the phone and talk to your best friend to tell him exactly what's going on, and treat the Most High like that. All right? So we have reading the word and we have prayer. The last part is going to be fasting. Fasting is how we learn how to tell ourselves no, how we make ourselves submit to the Spirit, how we cause our flesh to be under our foot. So when we say fasting, what do we need? What do we mean? It's not a diet. Some will tell you fasting means no food whatsoever for a certain period of time. Some will tell you do the Ezekiel fast, cut out the meat, right? Only have some vegetables and fruits. Some will tell you that do a water fast. There's multiple ways for you to do it. You do what you are capable of, okay? Unless the Lord speaks to you himself and says, I want you to do this specific fast, you have several examples within the Old Testament and the New of different types of fasts that can be done, okay? So fasting. Now, why do we fast? Like we said, it allows us to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross and to follow Christ. Because if I can't tell myself no for some chicken for 3 days, how do I expect to be able to tell myself no, don't look at her. No, don't watch that. Nah, don't hang out with them. Nah, don't hit that. Nah, don't sip that. Come on, man. We have to start somewhere. And the Lord has shown us through several ways of reading his word that fasting is extremely important. So what did we go over tonight outside of the reading? repentance is a key and always going to be a part of your life. Our foundation is Jesus Christ. You can call him Yeshua or Yahweh Shai. We don't have any problems with that whatsoever. We believe that the blood was spilled for all of mankind. Anybody from any nation can get in on it. Are we the people? Yes, we are. What's important? Prayer, fasting, and reading your word. Outside of that, we'll be back tomorrow, man. Every night at 8 p.m. we read. The heater is on right now, so I'm like really dry in my mouth. I'm sorry about that. But I pray that you guys had a great time as far as listening to the word. This is Bible study we do as a family. We chose to open up our doors and just, kind of showcase to everybody and invite them in. And we expect you guys to go out and reciprocate and do the same thing. You start your own Bible study. If you're looking for a pastor, if you're looking for somebody who can help you, Devin, look underneath the video where it says, more info or whatever that. And you see in our description, we have 2 pastors on there that we feel are great with leading you in the right direction, which is to Christ, because we're all signs. None of us are the destination, right? We're all signs. If you're on the freeway, we're just signs telling you which way to go. You pass a sign and you keep going. You don't stay here. You keep going. But go check out Pastor Omar, check out Pastor Stephen Darby, and they will definitely give you the teaching in which you are seeking. All right? Y'all have a great night. God bless you. And man, this was a good one.